good evening, good afternoon. This is Tatiana Koval, and this is podcast Happy at Work. In our podcast, we discuss the people-centric culture, employee happiness, and corporate culture transformation, employer branding, the main topics which help us to make our employees happier. And today, I have very, very interesting guests. I have a lot of expectation about these meetings because I have a lot of recommendation for Emma Davies from my colleagues from Dubai. Hi, Emma.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm fine, thanks. How about you?
Excellent, I'm really well. It's lovely to see you. Thank you for inviting me on today.
Emma, usually I ask all my guests to tell about themselves, about professional experience, maybe some personal information which you want to add. I think it could be very interesting to my audience to know more about you.
Lovely, thank you so much. So my name's Emma Davies. I have been working in the Middle East for nearly 20 years now. I have been in the UAE and now I'm between the UAE and Saudi Arabia, which is amazing. My career has been entirely in HR in Dubai. So my last role, I was CRHO at Masafi, which is the local brand of water. And I left there after 5 years to go out on my own. And I've now set up my own business. I have a number of entities under that, including coaching, consulting, and I run the largest people network in the UAE, development network for professionals. So that's fantastic. Personally, I'm a mum of 5 and we've got 2 dogs. So do bear with me. If you hear some barking today, that's just Kevin and Matilda, the Cocker Spaniels, because they're at home with me today.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Emma, we just decided to discuss the HR trends. And I want to start from first question. What is the main HR trends you see is very important for the manner for the Middle East region in this year, maybe for the next year, what the companies implement?
There's a couple of things. Employer value proposition, that's number one. So looking at why there is so much competition now for jobs, for talent. I don't like to say war on talent because I think that's kind of negative. It's for bringing the best talent into your business. So for me, it's about getting your EVP right. When you get your employer value proposition right, you're going to attract the perfect candidates. You're going to attract people who want to work with you, but it has to be true. It can't be something that's all singing and dancing on the internet and then isn't lived when people come and work for you. And your biggest advocates are your employees. So I always talk to the actual employees when I'm talking about EVP. The second thing, it goes hand in hand with that, I suppose, it's culture. You've got to get your culture right. I talked about this recently. You can offer as much work-life balance as you like, work from home, remote working, flexibility, all of that. But if you've got a toxic culture in your business, it won't make any difference. So for me, look at the culture before you look at any other kind of strategy. And it shouldn't be led by your people team. It should be led by the entire business. You know, HR people, we're amazing. We can change cultures for you, but we need other people by our sides to do that, to deliver it. And again, it does go back to well-being, but I think the 3 are intrinsically linked, because if you've got happy, healthy, well employees, then you've probably got a great culture, which then moves into your EVP. So people will see that and people will want to come and work for you.
I want to start from the last trend, that's about employees' well-being. I know what in UAE, a lot of people work very, very hard.
Working area ever.
Or what companies firstly do for their employees, and most of the employees, we are not originally people from the region. They are people who come from other countries. So this is specific of this region, as I know, because I also visited a lot of time this region. So what companies mostly now focus if we talk about employees' well-being for the companies in the Middle East?
There's the basics. So everybody has to have medical insurance. It's really, really important. Other things that come into well-being, which people don't always understand, paying your employees on time. and paying their salaries. These are the bare minimum things that people are doing. And the UAE government is fantastic because they have put laws in place that make sure that people get paid. There is no way companies can't pay people. It is brilliant, and it should be worldwide, I believe. But so there's the basic things. We've also got welfare that rolled out through Expo, that is being rolled out now across with the changes in the Ministry of Human Resources laws. But there's so many things you can do and added benefits. And people talk to me about this all the time. And it's firstly, I think you need to listen. There's no one size fits all with wellbeing. You know, some people, everybody wants something different. So what wellbeing means to different people, you know, if you look at your employees' financial well-being, so make sure they understand the future. You know, pensions are now coming into Dubai, but making sure people understand their future savings and their plans and things like that. That's one side of it. Another side is their general health, making sure employees aren't suffering with burnout, having a great people team and a health team that look after that. And all the stuff that, you know, team building, all that is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant, but make sure you're doing it at the right times for people. Make sure you are part of the company and the values that say, you know, we care about our employees so much that we don't ask you to do team building on your weekends.
Mm-hmm. If you talk about families of the employees, does companies pay attention to the families? Because as we discussed, some of people come from another countries that have contract maybe for some years. I know what a lot of people who really like this region, they are living as you a lot of years here, but there are a lot of employees who come in for 3, 5, maybe 7 years, and with families. Do you have any benefits and any well-being programs for these?
Lots of companies do. Lots of companies extend their medical insurance to people, again, bare minimum. But there's also the EAP schemes that they offer for families. But for me, you know, a great employer makes sure that if somebody is only going on leave because through choice every 2 years, but first of all, make sure your employees are using their annual leave to go and spend time with their families. But it's about things like, so making sure you're not contacting them when they're on annual leave, making sure that they feel safe enough that they're coming back. You know, it's really hard being an expat. Stuff happens in your home life, stuff happens and you're not there with your family. No, I've been overseas for such a long time and missed out on so many occasions and things happening because you're an expat. So companies can support by making sure that people do track, they are able to go on leave, they are able to use their leave properly. So they're on leave, they're not working from home. But also make, you know, things like you are responsible as an employer for the families as well in the UAE normally, because you are the sponsor of the employee, but the employee sponsors the family. Making sure that they've got somebody to talk to if there's any problems, making sure that if there are medical conditions or things that you are able to support that through your medical insurance. But the one thing you can do is make sure that employees have a safe space and somebody who will listen to them so that they can talk about these things. Because if they feel they can bring that to you in the workplace, they will be so much more productive, because we all know when you have issues and things going on at home, it impacts your work. It really, really does.
If we talk about, may I ask you about leaders and leadership? Because we can talk about well-being, mental health. They also have to talk about leadership. The leaders should be ready to discuss these topics, to be open for support subordinates.
They should be.
And also when I talk another focus on productivity all the time, so focus on productivity, on the results and so on. Could you tell a little bit about trends, what companies now do for the leaders on different levels in companies in the Middle East?
Sorry, that's Kevin just barking just then. He was very excited. So look, leaders, for me, everything is about having a great leadership team, having a leadership team who are cohesive. You don't always have to agree. They're agile, they're able to change things, and we often promote people in businesses, you know, because they're great at their jobs, but we don't train them to be a leader. And I don't necessarily think you can be trained to be a leader. You can definitely be trained to be a manager. But for me, it's about showing good, you know, sometimes leaders are leaders without the title. So you know who to go to in a department. That person is the leader because everybody trusts them. And that's what leadership is about. And I think we're seeing more and more great leaders these days come to the front, you know, because people want to bring other people together. They don't want to be sat on the side, you know. So, but again, it's not something we naturally do, is train people or support people with that. but you have to have a great work culture. You have to have a great leadership team. The two are absolutely exclusive.
If we talk about the first thing which you started about EVP, because I'm as a professional employer brand management, I know what it was not so popular, I think 5-7 years ago. But now, as you said, the companies start to work. They, as I understand, what the situation extremely changed, and they understand what not only the money could decide the problems for talent shortage, but we need to work with other aspects of a people's life. Could you tell a little bit about what is the most important things as a part of EVP you could see from the different companies, from the companies maybe who is the leader of the market? What are they talking about?
Yeah, so I believe Masafi Water, we were absolutely had our EVP perfectly. We had a great leadership team, which was out in the market, which was talked about. We knew what we were doing. We were agile. We could change. We could work with our employees' needs. And our employer value proposition was such that everybody suddenly wanted to come and work with us because we managed our brand. The brand is fantastic. The brand is one of the oldest brands, in the UAE. So that drew people in, but what drew people in was what they felt when they walked through the door. And somebody said to me, how do you measure all this stuff? And for me, it wasn't about measuring it through data. It was about when somebody walked through our office door, they would say, this feels like a great place to work and a great place to be. What that did was increase our EVP because our employees then started telling people about it. Your employees are your biggest advocates. Everybody says it. Richard Branson's always told everybody, but they are. If your employees want to be with you, that's your EVP. That's your number. And I'm sure like some of the companies in the Middle East, you hear a name and you think, I would like to work there. I know that brand. I understand it. And I think it's so powerful now for people because especially with the new generations that are coming into the market, that's what they want. They want EVP.
It's about the EVP implementation. I have two more questions. First, if you talk about promotion, employer brand, as we discussed, there are a lot of expats who is coming to work in Middle East, and how companies structured their policy for promoting for which countries or which type of employees. For example, if they mostly work with IT specialists, they work with some particular regions, with other specialists with other regions. How do they structure it in words of target audience and promotion brands?
A great company will go for any nationality, any person. We want diverse cultures. That is the beauty of working in the Middle East. That's the absolute beauty. We are all culturally diverse, and it's incredible because you learn so much every day from all the different cultures that come together. And that is so powerful because all the cultures working together also bring the EVP together, all the different types of, learning that we have. But for me, for marketing we've always used LinkedIn as Masafi. That's all we've needed to do. Our brand was so strong that everybody knows who Masafi Water was. So that was absolutely incredible for us, But LinkedIn, those kind of places, people know and want to work with you when they see what you're doing for your employees. A long time ago, marketing only used to be focused on the end user and the end product. Whereas now marketing teams are focusing on the internal customers to make sure that they're giving the same message. It's as important. Your internal customers are as important.
Employee advocacy programs, are they popular now for the companies? For companies like employee advocacy program, when the company helps the employees to become advocates of their employer brand, to promote companies, to generate some content and help HR to promote these brands on LinkedIn, for example.
The companies that do well engage their employees and they become their brand ambassadors. So the companies where you see on LinkedIn, I remember when before you used to see on LinkedIn just like the end user, whereas now when people are showing you what they're doing with their employees, it makes other people think, I want to go and work there. That looks like a great place to work. That's where I want to be. And that's what the tool is meant for.
If we talk about the young generation, what is the policies now companies have for the working with young generation? I know what in the Middle East there are a huge increase in educational system the last years in Saudi Arabia, in UAE. What is mostly companies focus on the young generation from the universities on the Middle East. This is a question from the people who, for example, who is really young, who have children and who want to make a career in the Middle East, that it's better to go to the universities in the Middle East, or also the other universities and the company open for their students from
I don't think that's
other roles.
I'm not young generation, so I wouldn't like to answer that too much. I'm not young anymore. But what I do know is that what we should be doing is learning from this generation. So for me, if you're talking about tech, you need somebody who is with tech, understands it. Like, I still don't really know how to program my television, so I do rely on my children for those things. But we must learn from them. And there used to be a thing called reverse mentoring. It's not about reverse mentoring, it's mentoring whichever way you do it. So I work with somebody who is younger than me, who is in HR, and the things I learn from her, but I don't say, oh, she's reverse mentoring me. She's mentoring me. She's guiding me on the trends for the future, because I've learned different things. And we have to remember, we can't do things the same way that we've always done them. We must change, we must adapt. So the generations that are coming into the workplace now are going to teach us a lot. But what we need to remember is we've also got older generations where we don't necessarily want to lose that knowledge. So it's how we make sure we share that knowledge. The universities in the Middle East are fantastic. The schooling system is fantastic. People who are moving there with young children, and it's becoming a very popular place now, even more so, that go and embrace it and learn from it.
It's very interesting about coaching from a young generation, especially in the era of AI. I think it's really, really, really important, because the young generation, they are native in working and using technologies. And about AI, is it a topic for HR now in the Middle East?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely it is. But it's using it correctly and not relying on it to know all the answers. The thing is, we are dealing with people. So you can ask AI, whichever tool you use to solve a problem for you when it comes to people. But experience that humans have got is still needed, as far as I'm concerned. It can give you a very data-based answer. Apparently you're not supposed to argue with it. I tend to argue with my ChatGPT. My son told me I wasn't supposed to be doing that. I was supposed to be learning from it. But for me, I think you're always going to need the human side of things, but HR is absolutely using AI in the Middle East. Why not? Why not automate tasks that we don't want to do anymore?
If you talk about challenges, what are the main challenges for HR you could see now in the Middle East?
People have got so much choice now with roles across the world, and we are still in a position where some, I see job adverts on LinkedIn and people say this role can be based anywhere in the world. So if I'm trying to draw somebody into my office in the UAE and they'd be working for an American company but working in Dubai, why wouldn't they? So there is so much choice now for talent. So that's why your EVP is so important. That's going to be the biggest challenge for this year, I believe.
We talk about diversity. We mentioned it, and I know what is a strong focus on the diversities. What is the trends in the area of diversity, both of the companies working with, mostly in the policy of diversity?
We're really lucky in the Middle East, again, because we have diverse cultures. So diversity, women in leadership, is something that we will always talk about as to where they are, but it's about bringing the right people in and getting the right team together for me. And diversity is important because it does bring different opinions with it. But for me, diversity is all down to, again, age. Do we have young leaders who I can learn from? I don't believe in putting somebody into a position because of their gender, because I believe that it's got to be the right person for the job. And I heard about kind of reverse diversity, and I was like, that also concerned me. So for me, find the best person for the job, but make sure your hiring process is non-biased, and that's where we need to train people.
If we talk about culture, I know what you are the best expert in the culture in the Middle East, so we decided just to discuss this topic. what is I know what in some particular countries now are a lot of culture transformation projects, mostly focus on the people-centric culture. Could you tell a little bit about this area in the Middle East? What now the companies do or not do with the culture inside companies?
Yeah, look, it's not something that I can explain to you simply, you know, it's because it's not one size fits all. For me, it's if you know you've got a problem in your culture and you're willing to do something and change it, then reach out to an expert. A company with a poor culture is a lot easier to fix than somebody who's got a great culture and just wants to enhance it because you're already doing all the great things. But for me, culture is your DNA. So if you've got to get that right, and you've got to say what it's going to be. You know, if you want to be agile, if you want to be dynamic, if you want to be people to be accountable, you have to say that at the beginning. So for instance, we've always done bar setting interviews. So people don't get past our interview processes unless they've met me, and they've met me because they will be a cultural fit for our business, i.e. in attitude. They want to be agile, they want to be accountable, they want to be part of a team, and they all want to achieve something, and they want to do that together. That's the difference in understanding your culture. If you just bring in person in because on CV they've got a qualification, looks like they'd be all right, and you know when you meet them, well, they're not quite the right fit, and you employ them, you're just damaging your culture. So culture starts at point zero with knowing what you want as a business, right through to your employee life cycle. So from the recruitment process, so working with great recruiters, you know, a CV never got to my desk unless they were a great person, because my recruitment team were absolutely amazing and knew what we were looking for. They weren't just sending CVs. And I think for me, from a perspective of an HR person, that's really, really important. But businesses are looking at culture and they are challenging it, and they are saying, is this what we want to be? What do we want to do differently? How can we fix this? And there's always small wins you can do with culture. There's always small wins. And I think there's the book called The Tipping Point will tell you start to get one person doing something and then somebody else does, and it goes and it cascades so quickly because everybody wants to be in the best part of that business. You know, teams have microcultures. Sometimes I know Andy Fieldhouse, he's an amazing teams coach. He talked about when he was working in a business and there was lots of different teams with different cultures and siloed. And Andy was like, I want to be in that team because everybody knew that team had the best culture. And so people want to be part of that movement. They want to be part of it.
May I ask, is it a norm now to have a team culture for the different departments or different teams? Is this a part of the culture now of the companies?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really great. I know what team coaching not in all the countries so popular for helping the teams for development.
Absolutely. And the problem is, and I met an incredible man yesterday who talked to me about the retention of learning, of things we learn. And it's not great if you go on a course and you don't remember what you did. You go on a Friday, you forget by Monday, you know, or if you go and you have one session on kind of team building or learning and nothing changes, or it all goes back to the way it was. And the difference with coaching and team coaching is it becomes ingrained in you to be that way. So it's never a one-stop shop. It's not something you do as a one-off and then you walk away from. It's always a process.
It's really very, very interesting. I think it's very important new topic because not in all companies I see the same situation. And also want from the perspective of a team coaching, team development and culture, I want to ask about multicultural, cross-cultural issues. Because as we discussed, there are a lot of people from different cultures come to work in the Middle East. How companies manage this situation?
It isn't a problem. It really isn't a problem. We all want the same thing. When you start talking to, this is one of the examples we do when we get teams together. We start to understand who they are personally and what they want. They go, we actually all want the same thing. We all really want to succeed. We all really want to get along well, and we all really want to work in a nice environment. And when you understand that, it doesn't matter which culture you come from, how many cultures you've got. When you understand that everybody's got the same goal, it's really, really easy.
Interesting. What in previous year in HR Trends was the focus on the development of HR. And the people talks a lot what we need to invest in HR. What Could you tell about Middle East? Is the HR really like development, have a huge investment in these areas now? HR mostly focused for their personal development.
No, so HR don't look after themselves very well. We look after everybody else. So we spend our budgets on other people. We spend training budget on other people. We very rarely spend any money on ourselves. And, you know, the saying of the airplane, put your oxygen mask on first. HR people don't naturally do that. We naturally look after other people. So for me, that's why we started the Evolve People Network, which is about HR being supported, having development programs, having kind of a safe space to come together to look after themselves. And HR previously used to be viewed as very much an admin department. You know, oh, we process a visa, we book a flight ticket. HR is so much more than that. It is so much more. And I keep calling it HR. It's people and culture. That's what it is. It's people and culture. And for me, we need to raise the profile of people and culture to be that of the CFO, the CTO, and the COO, because I'm sure you're hearing now, like we are, your next CEO is probably going to be your chief people officer. That's where we're headed. You know, we have got those skills to do that. And people are saying, oh, you know, actually, she was a CRHO or he was a CRHO, now he's a CEO. If companies value their HR teams and put them at the same level as finance and tech and those things, that you will be onto a winning strategy.
What is about the situation in the relationship between CEO and HR? Because I know that in some companies, in some countries, that people see HR as just a function. In other countries, they think of HR as really a business partner. It is very, very important for them. What could you tell about Middle East? Maybe some evolution of HR roles for companies?
It's not about the Middle East. It's everywhere in the world. It's the same. Realistically, people and culture should be the business owner's best friend. That's who they should be. They're their go-to person for absolutely everything. And it's the relationship between people and culture and finance is also really crucial and critical. I learned so much from my old CFO, just getting commercial understanding and those things. And by having a great relationship with finance and HR, again, winning. But the CEO has to trust their HR team, their people team, and they have to have a brilliant relationship. And that's why I've been successful and the businesses that I worked in have, because we have this relationship where there's a trust and a safe space and that place to talk and debate and have conversations and be open and fix things together. But people and culture are a solution providing department.
And my last question for you, I usually ask this question to all my guests. What is the three main advice could you give to the people who want to work in the HR area in the Middle East from the perspective of your huge experience? Pretty important.
So firstly, it's like nothing you've ever experienced before, and it's absolutely incredible. So be prepared to have big listening ears, because you're going to be the person that people want to come and talk to. So be prepared to listen and actively listen. Don't listen to answer. Remember, you can't solve everybody's problems, and the answer isn't always yes, by the way. It can be no, but it's how we deal with people. And if you are a true people person, then this is the market for you. Understand that it's so dynamic and it is a hardworking. If, you know, people see pictures and go, oh, you know, why aren't you on the beach? Well, I'm not on the beach because I'm at work from 7 till 6. You know, it's a really hard working environment in the Middle East, which I've loved and I've thrived under, and I would never have got to where I am if I hadn't have gone there. So for me, it's be prepared to work really hard and give back, because that's critical.
Thank you very much for this dialogue. It was really very interesting, very insightful, and I hope for people who want to know more about the Middle East and how HR could work and what is the trends of the Middle East in the HR area. I think it's really absolutely wonderful. Stay in touch. Hope to see you again in our podcast and different events. And I strongly recommend to follow Emma Davies in LinkedIn. Because LinkedIn helps us to find each other, and I hope you put a lot of insightful thoughts in LinkedIn page of Emma in LinkedIn.
Thank you for having me today.
This is podcast Happy at Work. I'm Tatiana Koval and hope to see you again with us in our podcast. Stay in touch.